Welcome to JoJo's Infinite Universe, where we dive deep into the realm of infinite possibilities. I'm JoJo, your guide on this transformative journey, where we share people's experiences to realities they didn't feel were possible. Have you ever felt stuck, lost, or overwhelmed by life's challenges? Well, you're not alone. But here's the secret: those experiences hold the key to unlocking your inner superpowers. Join me as we experience how self love can turn trauma into triumph and how embracing life's magic can lead to a world of endless potential. Get ready to rewrite your story and unleash the superhero within. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so you don't miss an episode. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share to spread the message of empowerment to others. This is JoJo, and the adventure starts now. Welcome back, beautiful souls. And today I have a special guest. I have John, my partner. We decided to do this podcast together. As you might have known last week, I did not have an episode. I don't know if anybody else was feeling this Mercury and retrograde or just a whole bunch of negative energy that was going around that we had to deal with. So I took a break to kind of recalibrate, and now I wanted to come back in and talk about relationships. And I thought the best way to do that is to kind of discuss some things that we have both learned either in previous relationships or the relationship that we are currently in together, and how that's different than ones that we've had in the past, and help anyone out there that might benefit from the information that we have found through our struggles.
Struggles is a fun word. I feel like they're necessary just like everything else.
Exactly. There's nothing, you can't learn without struggle.
Very true.
So I'm going to start off with probably the most hardest question I'm going to ask throughout this whole thing is how do you define a successful relationship?
Ooh, that is a hard one. I guess I'm glad you started there. I don't know, because success, I guess, is a very subjective term. That's to each person to define for themselves. I had a very, very skewed definition of success for a long time, and I thought it was, like something you could get, or you can have, or like you could go to the store and pick it off a shelf, or like at one day you would get there, and I think over time the idea of success really is something that helps you grow and forces you outside of your comfort zone in all of the right ways. So I feel like it's, in relationship terms, I feel like that would be, having somebody that you can call a partner and not just a girlfriend or a boyfriend or another title, but like a true partner, someone who's in it for everything, the good, the bad, the everything in between. So I feel like that's to not go on a tangent. I feel like a successful relationship is one where you have a partner, you have unconditional support, you feel safe to open up and be yourself, and it forces you to grow. I looked for a long time for relationships that gave me those butterflies and that feeling and that all the time. And there was a point in my life when I said, like, once that stops, or if this stops, that's what tells me no, I'm not in the right place. When really that's a terrible way to look at things, because they do stop, and they do. And those butterfly feelings are like anxiety for a lot of people. So that's really like
It's a bad way to
not a good thing. You want to be in a place where you're not feeling anxiety. So yeah, I mean a culmination of that, and then like I said, it really comes down to kind of what you're looking for in a person.
I would agree with everything you're stating. The the safety is an important piece, I think, in any relationship, to be able to express yourself fully without judgment, to have that person that you know that they're not going anywhere, because the matter of fact is there's always going to potentially be someone better out there, right? When you get older, there's always going to be somebody prettier, there's always going to be somebody smarter, there's always going to be somebody better.
Yeah.
But having a partner that's constantly choosing you no matter what, I think that those are the important things, and helping each other grow in a safe way, being able to voice, if I have an issue, or if I want you to see a different perspective. I don't have a problem giving you that perspective. Now, what you do with it is your choice, but I feel safe enough to be able to give you information that might help you grow. And the same thing goes for you, for me, because if we're not growing together, we're dying together.
Yeah, realistically, I feel like that safe space is important, and the with that safe space comes the ability to completely be yourself. So if I need to, not that people should need to yell and scream about all things, but if the situation arises and I feel some kind of anger or irritation, I should feel safe enough to express that and know that you're not going to take it personally, or it's not an attack against you, or the same, it doesn't even have to be an anger or an irritation thing. If you need to cry, if you feel super excited to you, I feel like this whole range of emotions, people really never do the work on themselves first to like explore what those even are or feel like or are supposed to be, and then you end up in these situationships with people, and now you never ever knew how to express yourself to begin with and never worked on it, and now like, oh, I don't want to make this person feel uncomfortable. I can't say what I'm really thinking because then she's going to leave me, or then he's going to think, like you said, then if I say what I really think and this person really gets inside my head, who's to stop them from saying, oh, there's something wrong with that person? I can go find better, or I need to find different. So to have that kind of space where no matter what it is, now with respect and with reason, I'm not.
Always with love.
In those situations arise, I feel like you do a exceptionally good job of. I can just scream if I need to, and then we talk about it and figure out how to grow from it and how to do it. But you never take it personally. You never take it as an attack to you, and I feel like what we've established with each other allowed that. The communication that we had before those things happened
Communication.
allowed that to take place.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when you're saying you're screaming and yelling, it's usually about things that have nothing to do with me. Like, you're not yelling at me or criticizing me or putting me down. It's you're mad at something you saw on TV.
And I mean, anything, and most of the time, it's
Or
really
something.
just I never did that amount of work to figure out other ways to deal with things and process things that there's a long time I didn't know how to deal with those emotions. So when that anger and that frustration builds up, the knee jerk reaction is to go with it and let it control you and just run with it. And then things come out. Now, the more and more I learn, there's ways to step back from that. There's ways to process that. There's ways to be pissed off and not get overly upset and angry and let it go. But again, when the time comes that it happens, it's a space that I can, be myself in, and we grow from it, and we don't take it offensively or as a problem or anything else.
So, with some of that being said, if you compared, so for me, comparing my, some of my past relationships to this relationship, like we talked about, safety, judgment, not judging the other person. Um, is there anything specific that you find that is a huge amount of difference, or that stands out from you in our relationship versus other relationships you've had in the past?
The fact that we have built that safe place, the fact that we put honesty and communication at the forefront first before anything. So, like, no matter what is going to be said, we know that it is the truth. And I would say it has more to do with the work that I did on myself before getting into this relationship than this relationship itself. This is fantastic that we have built these things together and we continue to do this together, but honestly, none of that would matter or be possible if I wouldn't have taken the time to realize that all those other relationships and issues that may have occurred and things that I would have looked at and said, okay, no, I will never have this in another relationship again. Those would have never been possible without looking inside first and figuring out how to love myself and get to know myself and be comfortable being me in my own skin, to where then I said, okay, the next person, the next relationship that I get in now, this person gets all of me or none of me. And it all has to be okay, or it's just not going to work. And that's okay.
Yes, if it doesn't work, it's okay. You don't have to fit somebody into a box of what you want.
There's no trap, there's no leash, there's no control, there's no you're going to do something because it makes me feel comfortable, or you're not going to do something because I feel some type of whatever the situation is.
That was a big thing for me that I've learned. The previous relationships, I've been manipulated and controlled and told that I'm not doing things I should be doing, or whatever. And because of that, you almost take that on, and then you feel that that's normal. So that's, I would like this. I want it to be like this. So I'm going to, but once I gave up the need for control and understand that you have your own life and your own journey and your own experiences and your own needs, it's freeing. Number one, it takes a lot of energy to try to control someone, which it isn't really even control, because you have no control,
and you can't.
But it's a false control that you put all this energy into to try to get somebody to fit in your box, instead of just accepting them for who they are and allowing them, like for instance, if I wanted you to do laundry today and asked you to do it this morning, but you didn't do it by a certain time, right? Which is not even needed. At some point in my life, I might have been like a reminding or whatever. And now I'm like, he knows it needs to be done. He's a big boy. He can figure it out on his own, and it'll get done. And just having faith that it just gets done. That's a dumb example, but it's simple. Like, it's a simple example. But it's things like that, not having to force things to happen at a certain time or in a certain way, and just let people be people.
I honestly feel like the relationships I've been in, because I've been on both sides of that. I've been manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the manipulator. I've been taken advantage of. I've taken advantage of people. I am by no means a saint. I've done my wrong, and I work every day with myself and with God to become a better person because of it. But even in those situations, and I think especially in those situations when I tried to, I guess, control things, if you want to say that, and make somebody fit into that box, it's it's almost like once I finally got them to fit in the box, then I didn't even want it anymore, because I was like, I don't even know if it was like, oh, this person's just gonna do, like, it's just like a wet noodle of a person. They'll just do whatever I want, or like, okay, this person's not even themselves now. They're not their own person.
It's not the person you liked in the beginning. It's
No,
now this
they
version.
and I changed that. I had the hand in that the whole time of enabling them to not be themselves, and that you don't know until you learn, and you don't know till you go through those things. But I don't know. I've found a lot more peace in life just letting people be themselves and deciding if that type of energy and that type of person is what I want to allow in my space or not. And again, if it's not, it used to be a we have to fix this and we got to change something. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. That's okay. It's probably better that we found out this didn't work now than continue trying to fit the star pegs in the square holes, and then we find out years down the road this isn't what we wanted anyways.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I found that in order to get to that level of not needing to control and allow people the freedom to do that is you really have to be secure with yourself.
100%.
And you have to understand that that person is there for you, and all the voices that are telling you all these things, they're fighting you to and actually they kind of make you make the wrong decisions. So if you in order I have found in order to really have a healthy relationship, it goes back to that self-love, that self-confidence, that understanding that you're worthy of someone to that love and respect you, because if you don't love and respect yourself, no one is going to love and respect you.
Nope.
Because and it's not because of the other person, but it's all because of you.
Always. And I don't even think like self-love gets thrown around, and this concept of like love yourself and all. I feel like it's even deeper than that. Like, you got to learn how to value and respect yourself and be grateful for you before you can ever let anybody in. So many people, myself included, so many times got into relationships and led with the idea that this person's gonna fill that void that's there, or okay, that didn't do it. Now I know what I'm looking for. I'll just change what I'm looking for a little bit, and that will fill. First off, there's no voids in you that need filled. That's the first lesson. And second, when you figure out where those pieces are missing, that's all got to come from inside. Nobody, nothing, no amount of money, nothing can bring you what truly valuing and respecting yourself can bring you. And then once you find it, I feel like it's that hard to break as well, because you work to do it, and now it doesn't matter, and it's okay to walk away. Like I said, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I won't compromise on the value of myself. I won't compromise on the respect of myself. And if I'm not going to talk to me this way, if I don't tell me these negative things, there's no way I'm going to let another person tell me or dictate or do or try to control or whatever. And
that's interesting you say that, because I look at relationships, well, first of all, with the self-love thing. Like I like the analogy of loving yourself the way God loves you, right? Loving, knowing you're unique and special and specifically designed to be your unique self, but also that that the universe loves you no matter if you're whatever all your flaws, everything that you've done wrong. The universe still comes back and loves you. So loving and forgiving yourself to that level is where there's secret sauce, in my opinion, really is.
Well, at least a little bit of it, some of it.
But when you're talking about the relationships, it's like a mirror. Like I look at you like a mirror. So the things that are coming up inside of me are things that I need to heal, usually within me. It has nothing even to do with you. It's like, oh, well, this is a new program that popped up that I should be this way or something. And then I have to really sit with that and figure it out and heal it. And once it's healed inside me, it disappears. So in the beginning, you might have the emotion of, and this is most relationships when you first start off, because you're still learning each other. You're trying to figure out, is this person right for me? Do they really care about me? Is it really a thing, right? So that voice is almost the first one that pops in your head and is there for a while. It's like, okay, well, he said this. Does this mean this? Or, he did this. Does this mean this? And so in the beginning, you're watching and observing and like it's a science experiment, and until
It's
you
all
have
an
enough
experiment.
evidence to prove otherwise, and then that voice disappears. So it's just like anything else. It's your own programming that you really have to focus on. Now that does not state that, if you're in a relationship that's clearly toxic, right? Like if there's abuse of any kind, emotional, verbal, or physical, and that means anything of any kind of disrespect, in my opinion. But again, still comes down to self-love. If you're not seeing that as signs in yourself, um then you're going to keep pushing through and it's going to get worse. That toxic relationship, if you stay down that track, it gets worse and worse and worse till the universe has been trying to tell you the whole time this is not the person for you, but you want to create the fantasy of what this relationship could be, which never ends up being that.
Everybody likes to live in their head.
But again, it still comes back to yourself and what you value in yourself and what you're willing to tolerate from other people.
And the whole concept of open, trustworthy communication, especially in the beginning of a relationship. To me, the fact that I don't know you as well yet should give me the okay to just say, again, with love, say everything and see where we go, instead of keeping the things in my head and then my little monster ego gets to make up a situation that never existed, never happened, was not really what was going on in the first place. And then people run with that voice in their head, or then by the time they are ready to talk, it's an explosion of, well, you did this and you. That had nothing to do with anything. There was no, that's not even what happened. Those aren't, you literally made that worst case scenario up in your head just because, oh, I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to say something. So you mean to tell me you would rather feel this type of anxiety and build up and hold all these things in than the possibility of making somebody feel uncomfortable? And if somebody gets that uncomfortable because you come to tell them the truth and tell them that you have an issue, maybe that's the sign that that's not the person that you thought it was.
Many people use the physical aspects to judge whether a relationship is going to be successful, right? That's the first thing we do. Well, not we, but there's the first thing that most people do is they, dive right into sex, no real get to know each other. And then they wait till they're married and okay, now let's get to know each
Now we're
other.
going to talk about things.
And then it's too late. If it's not right, you're not it's not going to work out. So
And
or you'll be miserable.
in the situations when that sexual side of the relationship was quote unquote bad, how much could open communication have fixed it and made it better? Or on the flip side, when it was great and that's why you stayed around so long, how often, when you see somebody's true colors, does that go, oh, this isn't good anymore? I honestly don't even want it anymore. So that thing you thought you had and you thought was good or thought was bad, it wasn't even real anyways.
And that will
And
always,
that's what you based it on.
and that will always fluctuate with a relationship. You know, there's going to be parts in a relationship where you might be more physically active with each other, and there's going to be times when you're not. When you get older in age, you might not be. And if you don't have a true relationship that's grounded in friendship and support, oh my God, I've seen those old couples who just hate each other and they talk so badly of each other. And it's just so sad to see two people.
I don't mean to
so
laugh. It is sad.
miserable.
And those are honestly the voices that I heard for a long time, and the reason that I was always like, oh no, I'm never getting married because this is how people talk to each other. But I was also from one of the minorities, and gratefully so that my parents are still married and did work through things. And I was always, from the beginning, taught that you need to find somebody and fall in love with a person because looks are 100% going to fade, but what's inside a person is always what's going to be inside them. So, but I never really understood that, and I never really let that take the reins for one reason or another. And it 100% is, it doesn't take a 30, 50, 10-year failed marriage to realize you can get that in somebody in a few months when that's all you wanted in the beginning. And then 6 months later, I don't even really I can't listen to you. I don't want to talk to you no more. Like, it's kind of annoying. Just leave me alone. That's no.
No, and if I can't communicate, there's like
You kind of lose your drive anyways, don't you?
communication.
Like, isn't that part of the attraction? Isn't that part of the, like, doesn't that help it when
It does. It does when it's present, 100%. So when we're talking about mirroring, like how do you use the mirroring to help with your growth? Like, do you get triggered? I'm assuming you get triggered by me. Like I get triggered.
I get triggered by everything.
But how do you approach it? Because we don't fight. We don't like we have issues occasionally, but we sit and we discuss them and we come up with a solution together.
I feel like I just, like I said, I'm bringing it back to the work that I put into myself before we got into this relationship. So now when there are things that come up, like, I value and respect you, but that's because I value and respect myself enough to know that if something needs work, I'm a constant project. There's not going to be a point. Here's back to the success thing. There's not going to be a point when it's done. There's not going to be a point when I reach that I'm just going to sit back and relax and take my feet off the gas and this, oh, I made it. I'm the person I was meant to be. So when those things come up, I feel like that's exactly what that trigger's trying to tell you. You're only irritated or sad or off your energy that you normally are on because something needs addressed. So, is it something in my personality that is triggering this? Most of the time, probably. Or is it something that I saw in you that makes me think of something in me that needs to change? Or it, I don't know. I use those things to look at how I can hold myself accountable for my half of the relationship. And when I say half, I don't mean 50-50. I mean my 100% and your 100%. And those times that I can only give 80%, you make up the difference. And the times that you're off your game and can only give a little bit, I make up the difference. It's killing your pride and your ego and putting that aside to want to grow as a person. And I feel like the only way you use that mirror concept in your relationship as a negative or a destructive thing is when your ego's in the way, your pride's too big, and you're going to point fingers at somebody else. How are you going to look at somebody else and say you are what needs to change? Oh, no, no, no. That basically, I'm perfect. Nothing's wrong over here. The reason that I'm pissed is because you did these things and you better fix. What kind of what kind of crap is that? Like,
Yeah,
and
not finding that people are not perfect either. Like
and nobody's perfect.
I've had those relationships where people would expect perfection, and every little thing that you fall out of line, they have to bring to your attention, and it comes back to their own insecurities.
They're not, and that's a form of control and abuse, and whether people want to look at it that way or not, that's I mean that's just what it is. But I mean, we're all this whole human experience and life and this game that we play, like I don't know, what kind of games do you play where you don't get to continuously level up through the experience, and you don't you want to just be okay with who you, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that. I don't pose judgment on that. If somebody's absolutely a-okay with the person they are right now and that's just who they're going to be, then that's fine and that's on you. And then you need to find somebody who is also at your level who doesn't want to grow anymore, doesn't want to progress, doesn't want to evolve. It just wants to stay as they are right now. I have never ever been that person. Outside of you, I was never that person. I've always looked for knowledge and ways to learn and ways to look at things I've failed at as a learning opportunity and what can this teach me. I've, I want to be the best version of myself in this life, and to look at where I am right now, compare it to where I was a year and 10 a week ago, to say that doing work is not making me a better version of myself would be a complete lie. So, like, if I look at 10 years ago from now, I think about that as what could it look like 10 years from now? Everybody's a reflection of you. Everybody. You're looking, and that's not just a relationship, that's everybody you meet. Yes. And the things that irritate you about people, somewhere inside of you, I'm willing to bet that there's some part of that that irritates you about yourself. So that's just once you latch on to that kind of mindset, I don't. It's kind of hard to look at it any other way, because any other way is really just good. It's gonna blow things up. It'll keep you irritated. It'll keep you depressed. It'll keep you anxious. Agreed. It keeps you from growing. The other thing, when you said about going back to the success of a relationship, I think the other thing that I learned, it's not two people trying to achieve their best
by themselves separate. I mean, there is a piece to that, but it always comes back to both parties wanting the best for the relationship as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not I'm going to grow and or I'm going to do these things because they make me happy if they're going to hurt you. And it's you know what I mean. I've had that where that somebody who only cared about what they wanted in life regardless of what I would want. So bringing it together to, and that doesn't mean that there aren't things that I do sometimes that are for you and that you are for me, but again it's but together, experiencing it together is best for the relationship.
I feel like there's just people that never learn the lesson that you can't do anything great by yourself. You can't. Mm-hmm. You can get so far. You could do a lot, mm-hmm. but I'd really, really be willing to bet almost any amount of money or anything you want that any successful person that you know has at least one person behind them and beside them.
Every business person has staff. You know what I mean? Like, you can't build a business without more people.
The CEO of that company is not running that business all by themselves. Correct. They have advisors, they have people, they have, and I mean, rightfully so. Anything great takes
more hands and expertise. Mm-hmm.
So you got to find that balance. Of course, I have my own personality and my own things, and I am living my own life on my own path. So absolutely, there are things that mm-hmm. I'm going to do and I want to do just for me to grow. But me growing is for the benefit of this partnership.
Correct.
I can't, and the saying, I wouldn't want to see you. I want to grow with you. I don't want to sit here and watch all these things happen, and because then at that point, then you're on a different wavelength, and there's just no more that we have to talk about. There's going to come a time when we're butting heads now, because you're on a different path and I'm on this path. Yeah, it's two different radio stations.
Yep.
That doesn't mesh up. So
let me ask you this from a male's perspective. What do you think men are looking for in a relationship, and is that different than what they need in a relationship? Typical men, not.
You're gonna get me in even more trouble now. I will not even sit here and tell you what I think men are looking for in a relationship, because what I see in the world and what I see in relationships, a lot of it is not even on my radar and that doesn't interest me. Growth and a partnership has been what interests me. I think men are taught from when they're very little that big boys don't cry, and to rub dirt in it and it'll be okay, and to wipe that look off your face, and that you are the one that needs to be the provider and in control, and it is your responsibility no matter what to take care of those things, which turns into a bunch of little boys who were never taught how to handle emotion, who thought that it was not okay to cry because it made them look weak, who try to now control every situation because me being the provider means I'm the one in charge and I'm the one that has to do everything. So I think a lot of people are looking for somebody to cater to them. I think a lot of people are looking for somebody to fill the void in them. I think a lot of people are looking for that person that they're going to walk into a room with and heads are going to turn because, look how beautiful that person is on the outside, and you don't know nothing about what having a conversation with this person is actually like. Um, I think that a lot of people are looking to have a relationship to fill a missing piece because they don't want to get a little messy with the emotions and don't know how to handle those emotions.
So, what do you think men actually need in a relationship from their partners in order to feel, I guess, safe, to feel um like they can open up and be authentic with not only themselves but their partner?
I think that men need a partner. A lot of guys, they they have some affiliation or experience with a team of some kind, but it was all other men. And they don't realize that that kind of support and camaraderie and respect and hard work should come from your partner too, not just those teams that you were on. I think people need someone that their actions prove that love is the first thing that they value in that relationship, and that is how things will be approached. And then someone who's going to push you out of your comfort zone. Again, in my opinion, some people want and are okay with wanting someone to cater to all their needs, and that's just what they're looking for. Some people are okay being that person. I can't speak on those relationships and those people because I'm not one of them. I, that again, those are not the things that ever interested me. If I didn't want somebody to submit to me, I didn't want somebody to answer my every call that I have. Do I want someone there to support me and who will go out of their way to do those things? 100%. Do I want somebody who's just going to allow me to be an asshole and not correct me when I'm wrong? Do I want somebody to do that in a public space and in a way that demeans me? No, I need
Loving
that person to be my rock behind me, so beside me. But you better believe when we get in the car, that person better be like, dude, that was, yeah, you kind of stepped over the line back there and that. But again, I think people need someone who is going to show them what unconditional love means and who isn't just gonna up and leave when shit gets messy, and who's gonna, I don't know, and not force me but enable me to grow, enable me to become a better person because they're becoming a better person, not because, oh, I think you need to change these things. It's, I'm changing these things about myself for good reasons and for these reasons, and it will probably benefit you and us if you did some work on those things too.
So, from a woman's perspective, I think a lot of women have the like focus on what they can bring to a relationship. I think you have two sides of the coin. You have some women that I think that
I think there's a lot more than two sides to the coin nowadays.
There are, but I think on the average, you either have women who feel like they have to prove themselves instead of seeing if the individual is worthy of them. Yeah. And then you have the other side where they feel like they're so worthy that's I'm maybe not using the right word, but instead they are
that's the alpha woman movement
way over alpha.
Yeah, the extreme alpha women.
That I'm gonna put you down and criticize you and belittle you, to make to do what I want, wrestle you to what I need you to do for me. So you have the ones that are trying to give themselves away and the others that are trying to get stuff from the other side. And it's not always equal. We also have this that men should take care of us. And I it's not that I disagree with that, but again, I think it needs to be equal. Like, I would never expect you to do something that I wouldn't do. And again, I think when I talked about the two sides of the coin, it's still coming back to love and confidence and respect for myself and my partner.
Do you think that people confuse the idea of providing for somebody with just monetary value or just
100%.
what they
some do agree. I agree with
bring to, you know what I mean? Like,
there's certain circumstances, right? If your partnership, if it's beneficial for one person to work, and again, I'm not saying male versus female. If one person to work versus another person to work, and you have the ability to do that, take advantage of it, because it allows you to live a lifestyle that most people will never live. But it doesn't say that one has to be the male, one has to be the female. But in the same aspect, men, I think, do need to understand that they have a prize too, that they've won, and treat it as such.
100%.
So, and I think that's another thing that women really need. Women need to feel, like we talked about, safe and loved and honored and respected, but a lot of women won't hold themselves to that. They will let men get away with stuff and not treat them with respect. I know when I was dating, I don't know how many unsolicited pics I received as a like come and get it, like. So I still think there's a little bit of backwards on how men approach relationships, and women not and accepting, almost women accepting that this is okay. Oh yeah, this is just men. I'll change him. Once I get him, he'll show me. I'll show him what it's like to be. No, you're not gonna.
That idea that people can fix and change people is, oh man, that's so.
I'm not putting the work in either.
That's so much pain and so much headache to think that you can fix someone or you can change them for the better. I think that a lot of the issues people experience in relationships are for what you said. People have, and I only know the men dating women side of things from experience, but women, it seems like for a long time, have just accepted that guys do that, and oh, that's just the way men act, and I'm not going to find somebody who treats me different or whatever. You enable men to act that way when you do that. You were basically saying that it's okay to be disrespected, and then no wonder everyone's disrespected. And on the flip side, men want this idea of a woman who
doesn't really exist,
is,
to be honest.
but she does.
Oh.
And they don't realize that if you would make her feel safe and you would respect her and you would give her that energy and growth in that space, I would probably say she would be more than willing to do and be whoever you wanted or needed because she felt taken care of and taken in a safe space. But everybody wants this thing, but then they're not willing to give anything to get it. You're not willing to put in any work. You just think you're entitled to. Nobody's entitled. And for anybody listening and watching, chivalry is not dead. It's far from dead. And anybody wondering and asking where all the good men or women have gone and why they're all taken, they're not. And maybe the question is, what do I need to do to work on myself? And what do I need to essentially grow and evolve into to deserve what I'm looking for?
You'll magnetize it. It's like, because don't get me wrong, when I was seeing, getting all these unsolicited images, I was not in the healthiest place. I wasn't. I went with it, right? And I met these people, and when you meet them, they're not any better on a date. The things that they say, and it's never healthy. Like, and if that's how you're starting off a relationship,
That's it.
there's nowhere to go.
If you're really willing to give, if I'm willing to give you all of everything I should be keeping a secret right off the bat, that's supposed to be a prize. You're supposed to have some desire and have some mystery build up. And if I'm willing to just shove it in your face without you asking for it or just throw it out to everybody, it's not really much of a prize anymore. And if I can do this on through a text message on the phone, I'm really like.
And most women, I'm sorry, but that's not the thing that's gonna be hook, line, and sinker. You tell me to cook them a meal, or you know what I mean? Are you really like that's gonna have more value? But when it comes back to the changing of trying to change people, again, I would ask yourself, are you trying to change people because you don't want to change yourself? Like, is there something inside you that feels the need to fix other people because you're not willing to fix? It's so much easier to help other people.
Oh yeah.
Than it is to help yourself.
And if everybody else changes, then they'll just change to the way that I need them to, and then everything that I'm still doing will never be an issue. You'll never find a successful relationship. You'll always have a problem. You will always find something wrong, with that other person. You will always have just something won't be right if you're not willing to put in that work.
Correct. So do you have any advice? Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about, I mean, honestly, I think I was going to say if you had any advice for single people looking to get in a relationship, but it's right back to the loving yourself,
work on yourself,
get rid of
first,
work on the traumas,
and
the voices, the programming inside your head.
Do not even begin to look for a relationship or something outside until you have done some of that work on yourself and you find that value for yourself. And it's not to say that, oh, you have to be absolutely in tip top shape and perfect with no baggage left in order to get into a relationship. That's not it.
Well, you can't.
That's
Because once you get in a relationship,
you learn a whole
there's more
bunch
parts
of
of
things.
that you learn about yourself.
The whole other can of worms opens.
Yeah.
So
which helps you grow faster.
But to not address any of the things that you went through as a child. I had a great upbringing. I had a life that I'm sure people would dream of. I still experienced traumas, if you will, in all kinds of different forms from all kinds of different people who were my family and probably were just saying things out of not knowing any better or love. You need to find that way to have a level of respect for yourself that you are comfortable in your skin and you can respectfully allow or not allow things in your energy space.
Yes.
Not coming out of a place of lonely or I feel like I'm missing something and oh, it would just be so nice to have somebody here to cuddle with and all. That will get you so screwed up so fast, and that's the way people get into relationships that just end and it's no good. So
yeah, you want to look for somebody you want to bring value to your life. You want to be a better person with them.
And then going past somebody's looks and the outside and the first impressions and those chemical reactions in your brain and doing some work with that person to find out if you guys are really gonna mesh or not. I don't know where this whole idea of we just have to like tiptoe into things and oh, I can't call the person for 3 days, I gotta wait, and then I can only talk about these kind of things.
No,
Why would you not talk about every and anything to find out if you guys match up and mesh first and save yourselves both a lot of time and headache, then try to tiptoe because I like the way that you look and oh yeah, it's fine. We can work on this later.
So for everyone watching, my formula for success in a relationship, and take this as you can or take it or leave it. But what I've found, at least in my last two relationships that have been very, very healthy and positive, is when we first started dating, we talked on the phone for weeks, if not months, before meeting in person, getting to know each other very deeply to make sure that we meshed. And then once we realized that we do, then it was like a week long meet, like with each other 24/7 for 7 days straight. And people can fake it for a couple hours, but it is really hard for somebody to fake it past day 2 or 3. So you're really going to get to know that person and figure out whether or not you guys are going to match. And if you get to the end of the 7 days, at least from my experience, again, I've only had very limited experience too. But if you get past that, I mean, it's pretty much, I found that it's solid. But that's just my formula.
It's at least easier.
Works right for you, but
yeah, I feel like that
the
whole
concept of really getting to know each other fully before even meeting, because there's that physical aspect that once you guys are in together, for some people, and I have to say I was probably one of them. Physical stuff starts a lot sooner, so if you're doing all that work beforehand, you're really getting to know that person and find out if you should even step into that to that next level.
I don't
of
know
intimacy.
where that idea of we absolutely have to wait until we're married to live with each other, and I'm not saying like move in the minute you meet somebody. By please, Lord, no, by all means. But
Well,
like you
unless you
said, I
feel
mean, sleep,
unless you feel that way.
stay with somebody, spend some time really, really together, as if you guys are trying to with intention. Go into it with the intention that this is what I'm trying to do, and see, explore, spend that time together, and yeah, I mean, like you said, nonstop time is you find out real quick if you can or can't mesh and if the things you guys are talking about are or
You can only you have to fill your time. It's not like a date where you can. We just need to make conversation for a couple hours and expand it later on. And most people don't spend that much time together, even when they're together for years to be with each other nonstop for 7 days straight. But I that's it showed me a lot. We'll just say that. Um, and the last thing I really want to talk about is, I am a very spiritual person. I'm not really identify with one religion. I kind of like pieces of them all, to be honest. But I'm a very spiritual person, and I definitely believe in a higher being, whether you call that God or the universe, and source, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that bringing God into our relationship has also benefited us in a huge way.
100.
Praying together. I've never had that before, John. But to actually pray together, and it's not to ask for things. It's being thankful and grateful
That's
for the things that we do
I don't
have.
really think that that's praying. When
No.
people say they call the big man in the sky and say, "Hey man, I really need you to do this." I know I don't talk to you ever. I know I don't do things in my normal life to ever really acknowledge you, but I really need you to come through. Like it's not a complaint and request department.
No.
Um, but yeah, that I mean,
I found
being
that
on
once
the
the
same page about that.
Well, and I found that the more grateful I've been in my life, the more my life
Gives you things to be grateful
gives you
for.
things to be grateful for. Yes, and you can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. You can't have fear and gratitude.
Frequencies that don't match up.
Yeah, they
You're
don't
either
match.
in one or in the other. But if you truly are grateful for what you have, then that frequency is gratitude, and it's the opposite of the worry and the lack, so you can't live in them both at the same time. They don't line up.
Agreed. I actually saw a statistic the other day. I was telling you about that, like people that pray together regularly. The divorce rate is like 1% versus the national average, which is like 50%.
I never really heard that, and I have never had an experience in a relationship that I have even really felt comfortable enough opening up to somebody about how I feel about God and the universe and all of that. Like me meditating and what I do, that was always like, no, behind. Like, this is me. I feel uncomfortable doing this around somebody else. Um, this is the first situation I've ever
Me too.
experienced that I put that ego aside and put the embarrassment or whatever you want to call it and did it, and I'm very grateful for it because it not only is it a better experience, I feel like it's more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It like it's not just one energy level and one person putting this vibration out into the universe. It's this collective now, and it's more, and especially when you're in like an empathic person and you feel energies from around you, which a lot of people I don't think understand what that word means and realize that that is them. That was me for a long time. I would have identified completely opposite from an empath. And nah, that's for sissies. You know and have feeling how someone feels. And the older that I get, I start to realize that, like, I walk into a room and I just start to feel things, and that is not coming from inside of me. That's what all these people are feeling right now. So to have that and to learn about that superpower, if you will, and to put that together with somebody else, I, I just feel like it. Like
Yeah,
that
it
kept me going.
supercharges
It's
it.
crazy. Yeah, it's
Collective
awesome.
prayer, like they've even showed that people that pray together on the same intention has much more power than just a single person. Um and then, just for me, my question, because there's a lot of women out there like me
Anything
that
for you,
have
dear.
that have been, that are connected to the divine, connected to nature, and
Yes.
connected to the world, and connected to, intuition, and all of that. I've had past relationships that have basically closeted that version of me, and detached myself from that for a long period of time, and only recently, like, really, really, really connected with it. So as a partner to a woman who is like me, how would you tell them the best ways to support them, and how does it benefit you? Because there's so many women out there that want to express more of their divine selves, but feel embarrassed, or feel like, I don't know the words, but
I feel like that's loaded because that's two sides of that. That is on the women to know how powerful they are and to find that self value to where you know what you are and what you bring and what you powers you possess, and to feel and be that person fully. The only reason you feel embarrassed about that is because you feel like you're not going to be accepted by someone, or because somebody put you in a closet and said no. So,
so for people that are in relationships, though, how would you tell the partner to that could be best supportive? And as a partner, do you feel that you have benefits
100%.
of this?
100% benefits. I mean, it's I feel like it's really, really simple. Like, why are you in the relationship in the first place? And I would hope that would be partly because you want the best for the relationship. And why would you get into why would you get into something and only want half of what it can do? Why would you buy a sports car and only drive it in first gear? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you go to a fancy restaurant and only order chicken fingers for an appetizer? Like, this makes absolutely no sense to have this thing that you don't even understand the power and the potential of, and to limit it because I feel insecure and I feel nervous that again, this is one of them things like guys don't realize, partners don't realize. I can't put it all on men. Partners don't realize that if you show your person that support and let them know that they can completely be themselves and it's safe and they're loved, you'd be very surprised and probably blown away at how it makes you feel, what they're willing to give to you and do for you and bring to the relationship, how much better that relationship feels and is on all different kinds of levels. And I mean, like, specifically for the women who have those the gifts that you're talking about, and are into that spiritual or mystical or that side of life. Again, why, when you could have a woman with superpowers, would you settle for dating someone normal? And it's all going to come down to what people want and what they're looking for and what truly makes them happy. But I'm just somebody who looks at that relationship as the way to grow, and I want you to be the most awesome, powerful, badass version of yourself, because I'm looking to do that for myself, and I want that for me first, and I want that for me for us. So
how does it benefit you?
it benefits me because I get to date a superhero and I get to live with a superhero instead of someone like it. It gives me the space to work on all these things that we're talking about, to become a better man and a better person. And it opens up this just loving, light, just awesome energy and vibration that you don't get to experience if you're trying to control and keep somebody in a certain way, or put them in the closet, if you will, or you don't ever get to see that. You just continue to go through life in these lenses that, like, this is the way that it is and this is always going to be that way, and that where's the growth and where's the fun in that? And the women who aren't in touch with those spiritual gifts that they possess never break out of that box. They never get to experience those things. So that's just okay with those people. If that's your thing, keep on doing what you're doing. I feel like I benefit all the way around. It makes you a more happy and powerful and loving person, which in turn brings me a better, happier, more loving person, which allows me to be a better, happier, more loving person. Like, where's the downside of that?
Well, I want to thank you for coming on and chatting with me.
You're very, very welcome.
I want to thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed our session. And I hope it brought you some information on, the differences in relationships. And, I started off not knowing any of this stuff when I went on my journey. And now I just want to share with everyone all the things that I've learned that, just makes life better, just makes it so much more fun to live and really enjoy your life. So till next week, love infinitely, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. If this week's message spoke to you, please share it so that it can help someone else too. If you need advice or are interested in being part of the show, you can DM me on Instagram or email me at jojosinfiniteuniverse@gmail.com. Until next time, love infinitely, my friends.